Namaskar, this is Sai Sudhir from Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education. Welcome to the video lecture series on rural supply chain management. In the last video, we discussed on the impact of GST on supply chain management. In this video, we are going to discuss on the importance of foreign direct investments in the supply chain management. As we know, we are lining up investments from various countries and how the foreign direct investments are helping us in the economic growth and development, and at the same time how it is creating an impact on the supply chain management activities. So let's discuss more on the importance of FDI as well as its impact on the supply chain management. As we know, FDI, foreign direct investment, it stimulates the economic development. It helps the economy to grow by extracting the resources, utilizing the resources in a right way, be it materials, labor, whatever it is the resource. Utilizing the resources with the investments from the other countries and looking for the economic growth, which we basically consider it as an external capital source that will also help us in increasing the revenues of a country. Foreign direct investment, it is considered as a major source for the non-debt financial resource for the economic development. Foreign direct investment is an investment made by a firm or an individual in one country into the business interest located in the other country. So whatever the kind of interests a person might be having, whether it is an individual or whether it is a kind of firm, whichever is having interest, whatever the area they want to invest, so they want to create some interests in various business activities and want to invest in various countries. This basically takes place when an investor establishes the foreign business operations or acquires the foreign business assets, which including the establishing ownership or controlling interest in a foreign company. So we have two ways here: either when an investor wants to establish business operations in some other country, or if you want to acquire the other company's operations in some other country. So if you want to either own it or control it, that depends on the interest of a person or a company. So if I feel that whenever any activity that is having huge potential in the other country, when I am having the availability of funds with me, I can definitely go and invest in that particular country on that specific business activity. So when we talk about the supply chain, starting from the point of origin to the point of consumption, the way how process of supply chain activities taking place, any point of activity, whether in terms of a warehouse, in terms of a manufacturing unit, or in terms of a distribution point. So whatever the area in which I would like to utilize, if I want to invest in terms of technology, in terms of development of some infrastructure, maybe roads or a warehouse or transportation system or some automation system in the warehouses or in the entire supply chain process, or some automation or technology inputs in the manufacturing units, or the way of extracting raw material from the suppliers, whatever the way or wherever the source in which I can invest if I am interested in a kind of business activity in some nation. But FDIs, when we are talking about the foreign direct investment, it is a strategic and a significant tool for developing any country's infrastructure. My intention should be the way of strategic intent. So I have to think in a long term perspective when I am coming out with any FDI. Any individual or any firm, when they are coming out with some FDI, they have to look at it in a strategic long term perspective. So how long we can make this, how long we can run this practice, how long we can come out with this initiative and come out with this investment that provides us a platform to generate more revenue, but for us at the same time for also helping the other countries' development or the growth of the other nation. Of course, those who are investing, they looks at the perspective of getting more revenues, more benefits in terms of that, or sometimes they want control in that area. They want to regulate the operations in that economy. That is also the reason, one of the reason where they are trying to line up their investments in the other countries. So as we discussed, there are two important motives. Either if an individual or a firm wants to own it, or if they want to regulate the operations in the particular nation. So that's the kind of motive. So deciding that motive and coming out with various kind of approaches, what to acquire, when to invest, what are the areas of investment we are looking at, what are the industries in which we are looking at. So all these aspects we have to specifically define before we invest in the FDI, through FDI. And in the recent times, FDI in India is one of the most discussed as topics in the world economy. As we know, FDI is a fund flow between the countries in the form of inflow or outflow, by which one can gain some benefit from their investment. So we have two way of flows. So what is lining in to one nation and what we are extracting from that nation. So we define these two countries as host country and home country. So the host country, which is the investment source where we are coming out with the investment from, and the home country which are directly interested in investing the FDI. So these two, because they benefit a lot from such type of investment. FDI can also help to raise the output, production, and also looking at the exports at the sectoral level of Indian economy. So these are some important areas where FDI is going to contribute for the Indian economy in terms of raising the output, in terms of coming out with more production, and also looking at raising the exports in various sectors of the Indian economy. Let's talk about the importance of FDI in the rural economy. So as we are talking, FDI is not only lined in the urban landscape, but also FDI can be lined even in the rural economy or in the rural landscape. In 2017, developed countries received about 37% of the total global FDI. They received about 43% of 43 of the worldwide investment. And in the Asia, investments rise about 2%, which is the largest recipient region in the world. Foreign investment is generally seen as a kind of catalyst for the economic growth and also can be undertaken by the institutions, corporations, and the individual business units. A comparative study of China and India that has found 1% increase in FDI would result in 0.07% increase in the GDP of China and 0.02% of increase in the GDP in India. And what is the impact that we have? When we talk about the impact that we have on the rural economy by this FDI, so let's talk about the impact that we have. As we discussed, we have positive impact, we have negative impact. Every time we cannot say that these are having positive impact in our business activities or in the sectoral growth or economic growth of the country, but we cannot say the negative impact every time. So we have both pros and cons every time, we have both advantages and disadvantages, we have positive and negative impacts as well in every aspect. Similarly, when we talk about the positive aspects of this FDI, one is increasing the productivity. So because when we are looking for the resources, whatever the investment we are looking at, so we have resources in terms of product raw material or whatever the climatic conditions or soil fertility, whatever the kind of resource we are looking for the production. So we have some resources and we are waiting for some investment in some area. Maybe it's a monetary kind of investment, or maybe in terms of some technology, some machinery which will help in enhancing the productivity of the kind of product outcome and all. So we are looking for enhancing the productivity. So how this will enhance productivity? So if technology is added, or if some better quality of resource is added, or if better quality of manpower is added, so whatever the way of investment, it comes from the other country to this country. So how we can utilize that resource in a productive way and see that how we can also enhance productivity in our product or service. Similarly, creating employment opportunities. So whenever some investment comes in particular area, when some new plant comes, when some new business unit comes in the rural area, when some warehouse was installed or established, when some production unit was established, so definitely we can have some employment opportunities creation. We need some employment opportunity, we need some employment there. So that also creates employment opportunities in the rural areas or in the local areas. So it creates different kind of jobs. So because of that, it will also leads to the economic growth in an indirect manner. And also because of this FDIs, what we can look at is the transfer in new technology. How we can look at the transfer of technology. So whenever we are using this term called transfer, technology transfer, what we need to look at it? Whenever we are transferring the technology from one place to the other place, we have to look at whether this technology is understood by the other country or not, whether this technology is compatible for the other unit or not, other area or not, whether this technology is having integration. As we discussed in the previous videos, we talk about PPT, people, process and technology. So here when we are talking about technology, transferring technology from one place to other place, we have to also ensure whether this technology is being adopted by the people of that particular location, whether this is able to integrate with the process of that particular place, how far we can collaborate, how far we can integrate these activities, whether it is people and process with the technology that we are going to transfer from one country to the other country. So in this context, we have to look at it, the technology transfer. Of course, it helps the economy, it helps in enhancing the productivity, it helps in reducing the efforts, it helps in reducing the cost, it helps in improving the quality and lining up the operations in a faster way. So definitely we have good benefits of this, but we have to utilize that in a way how it creates a positive impact for our business operations. And we have to look at the way of its integration when we are trying to get this technology from the other countries. And also there is one more positive impact that we are looking here is through foreign direct investments. A foreign company will also create supply chain in the Indian market. So because of some FDIs, because of some company entering into your country in another country, or if they want to collaborate or enter into an alliance with some other nation, so some other company, that also creates a kind of opportunity. So because of this, we are trying to also create a supply chain in the Indian market. So now what happens is this creates a connect between these two nations, between the host country and the home country. Both nations, they have a kind of connect here. So they can exchange their products, they can also create a network that helps to promote these products, sell these products in the other nations, that helps in exchanging the resource between these two nations. So especially it will also create a supply chain where they can explore for new products and new kind of resources as well in the other nation. And apart from the resources, one of the other resource which we are looking here is fund. So financial aspect point of view, whenever there is a need for financial investment, in that context also FDI will help. So by lining up investments from the other countries, so having monetary support, that will definitely add more value for the company to purchase whatever the products they require, procure whatever the materials they want to procure, process the things in a right way as per the requirement. So they need not take a step back, they can step forward with the way of financial support that they has from the other country. So they should not wait for something to do, they can plan accordingly and they can complete the task with the support of this particular financial support from FDI. Also improving infrastructure, when we consider one of the important area here by improving the infrastructure also. So as you know, infrastructure includes networking, roads, the kind of connect that is there between one point to the other point. As we are discussing here from the point of origin to the point of consumption, whatever the infra required during this particular 2 points, point of origin, starting point to the ending point, starting from supplier to the end customer. So what type of infra requirements we have and how we can fulfill these requirements. Maybe it is a road or a warehouse or a kind of networking or a kind of technology, whatever it is there, whatever it is required to connect, that helps in connecting each point. So this plays a vital role, and FDI also helps in connecting the different points of supply chain and also helps in improving the infrastructure of the economy. That will also helps in boosting the economic growth and development, and also forming the external capital as we discussed. So this is also creating as a source of capital from the external area, and we can see as a positive impact of boost in the economic growth. So definitely because of the FDIs, so we can look for the growth. Of course the growth may be varied from nation to nation, as we discussed earlier, like maybe the other country is having some huge growth rate, we may be having some less growth, but still we have some growth. We can manage that growth and see that how best we can extract that support through these FDIs. And also transferring the resources. So as we talked about technology resource earlier, technology transfer earlier, and now we are talking about the resource transfer. So whatever it is, whether it is a manpower, whether it is a technology, whether it is a kind of raw material, a product component or a technology, whatever the transfer we are looking at it. So how this transfer happens, at the same time we also need to manage those aspects, like what type of transfer we are looking at, when we are going to transfer it, where we are going to transfer it, how we are going to transfer it, and who is the person who is going to transfer that. Because everyone sometimes may not be able to perform well, everyone may not be able to connect it well in a great manner. So we have to look at the person sometimes who also plays a vital role in connecting this type of transfer in a right way, make this transfer happen in a fit manner, strategic fit manner. It should be for long term, at the same time it should be a fit, that means it should be fitting across with the kind of operations that they are doing in the other country. It should be appropriate one, it should be the right one to be done in that particular nation. So how we can say that? And sometimes it will also help in companies in terms of payment of taxes as well. And of course we have some negative impacts too because of these FDIs in the rural economy. When we talk about that, workers may get exploited. That is one important area which we are looking at. So we have different people from different cultures, people from different way of approaches. That creates a way for the employees who are already working here. So by knowing the practices there, so they want to come out with their practices and they want to mention about the practices happening in some other nations. So that may create or that may exploit the existing work culture of the current nation. So that is the area which we have to focus on. And also in terms of the freedom that we have, the farmers are having that freedom. So in terms of that also we have to look at it, and the risk that we have from the political changes. As you know, the changes that are happening in the political lines, what is the impact they are going to create? Changes in the political system also creates an impact on every economic growth, as we know that. But what is that impact it is showing because of the political changes? So currently in this government this is okay, but if the government changes, whether this will be allowed or not, if the policy changes, what is the situation of this company, whether both the things, whether those who are invested, those who have invested their money, as well as those who are already utilizing the resources from the other nation. So both of them, they have some loop. So how to handle that, and the risk that they are handling with the political changes, and environmental practices which has to be handled in a proper way. So someone may come and someone may destroy or someone may disturb the existing practices which are going in a smooth line sometimes. So how to handle such environmental and ecological hazards, that thing we have to focus. And also there is a less profit to the host country. So we are looking at the benefits, but we are looking for the growth and development. But sometimes or most of the times, those who invested in our country, they are getting more benefit than the country which got investments. So in such a case, what is the benefit for the host country? So how they have to line up the benefits in a better way. So these aspects also we have to focus on. And there is also a competition between local and foreign firms. Whenever a local firm is doing good in some area, if a foreign firm comes into this particular industry, into this particular country and starts operating, so what is the scenario of the local firm? How local firm can compete with the foreign firm? In what way they are competent enough? How they can handle that competition? So they cannot close their business operations, at the same time they cannot run the business operation as well. How to handle with such kind of situations then? So they have to, if they have to merge with the other company. Similarly, because of such kind of activities, there are many cases where because of the entry of some foreign company into the Indian entity, several companies who are doing business in the local area, they have merged their practices. We can see different examples, especially in the retail chain. If we talk about some Walmart example, or if we talk about some the kind of practices that happens even in Starbucks kind of companies which they enter into Indian chain, but they have merged with the Indian players. As we discussed earlier, they are looking at two aspects, whether to own the company or to control the company, whether to own the industry or to control that industry, whether to own that aspects, activities happening in the country, or to control the activities happening in the other country. With that motive, they are entering into the Indian country, and every company, they are entering into various collaborations, strategic alliances, which means for a long span of time. But the success what they are looking at, the benefit what the home country is looking at, the host country is looking at. So we are hosting it. Being a host country, we are getting the kind of benefits. So what is the benefit that they are going to get? So being the home country, what benefits they are going to extract? So these aspects also we have to specify, and we have to assess and examine time to time. A kind of analysis has to be done for analyzing these aspects, whether it is going in the right way or not. When to withdraw, sometimes if something is going wrong, how to withdraw that? If we withdraw that kind of investment, so what is that benefit or what is the drawback that we have? So every component needs to be assessed in a right way. And similarly, when we look at the competition as well as the situation that we have, in the early 90s, Indian economy faced a severe balance of payment problems. So because of this, mostly what is happening or what is changing is, it is creating an impact in the imports and exports aspect. As you know, the balance of payment, which talks about based on the differences that we have between imports and export payments, and we are trying to maintain or level the balance between these two things. During that critical time, then Finance Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh ji came out with microeconomic stabilization and structural adjustment program with the help of World Bank and International Monetary Fund. And as a result of these reforms, India opened its doors to the FDI inflows and adopted a more liberal foreign investors. And further, this new foreign investment policy, the government of India constituted Foreign Investment Promotion Board was formed, which main function was to invite and facilitate the foreign investment through a single window system from the PMO, Prime Minister Office. So India has become the member of Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency for the protection of foreign investments, as well as government encourages the FDI LO with the multinational companies to operate in India, and this also resulting in partial liberalization of the Indian economy. And the government also introduced several reforms in the individual sector for increasing competency, efficiency and growth in the industry, and coming out with this stable and a kind of non-discriminatory policy flow for the Indian economy, and of course for the FDIs which are coming out from the other countries. So let's talk about the determinants that we have in FDI for the Indian economy, especially in the rural areas. So we have two kind of impacts in the FDI. Foreign countries, those who are getting skilled labor at lower prices, and India is able to solve the problem of unemployment when we talk about the capital, labor capital. So some countries, they have cheap, skilled or efficient labor. So India is having skilled people but lack of capital. So we have skilled manpower but lack of capital. That is leading to the unemployment and wastage of human resources. That is the scenario of Indian economy. So FDI has a kind of impact here, where getting this kind of manpower at a cheaper price from India, and of course they can invest it in this area, which also solve the problem of unemployment. And investors also prefer to invest in those countries which have stable economic policies. So every day if we come out with some new instruction or new kind of policy, that will definitely create a negative sign for any organization, for the growth of any nation as well. So we need to have a consistent policy. Change is inevitable, we know that, but we cannot change every day, every moment. That cannot be happened. So we need to have some time for implementation, for looking for various evaluating those aspects, and looking at what is to be changed, when it has to make the change, whether the change is really appropriate enough, we have to really change it. All these aspects also to be evaluated. So as in our country we have economic factors, economic policy which is of a stable in nature. This also attracts the foreign investments to the country. And of course we have some economic factors influence in terms of loans, the tax brackets or the grants, subsidies, removal of restriction and limitations with the liberal policy of the country economy. And the government of India has given many tax exemptions to the foreign investors, and also various subsidies in these areas. And of course technology, advanced technology is also an important component in the FDI flow in the Indian economy. And if any country wants to invest this money in any country, they see is whether there is any market for their products or services. And India is having that large scope for the investors, because there is a large section of market which has not explored or which is unutilized. So we are looking at the unutilized area. So in this we have the potential. And if the natural resources are available in the host country, that they can be used by the foreign investors in the production processes or for extraction of some natural resources. So India has a large volume of natural resources. Maybe you may take coal, iron ore, natural gas, any other natural resources, which definitely attracts the foreign investors to invest their money. And as we discussed the merger and acquisition part, where we have lot of mergers and acquisitions happening in this area. So the collaborations in a strategic framework that is helping the economy also to look at in a positive way for the growth in both the nations. And when we talk about various modes or routes of these FDIs, there are three routes where or through which FDIs are channelized into the Indian economy. One is 100% is permitted, as we know that, whether it is done in automatic route or through the government route or through government and automatic hybrid mode. What is the way? For example, any NRI or a company can use this route for investments in the automatic route. So they can take the support of some private the firms and all. They can directly collaborate with them and they can enter into the national. And one is through the government channel, and one is through the both the sources, hybrid route. So the foreign investors have to basically choose a sector where they want to invest in, whether they want to go with agriculture industry or broadcasting or infrastructure area, which specific area they want to focus, and they have to take the or seek the concerned support from the ministry for their investments. So they have to come out with a proper policy procedure as per the consolidated FDI policy of 2020 from the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. We can see also various illustrations in this slide, which helps us to understand the way of lining up FDIs into the country. And they can focus on some infrastructure projects, some biotech projects, cattle parks, e-commerce, so which are having some 100% scope and allotment or availability to enter into that. So we have that eligibility to enter into that. So let's talk about the impact of this FDIs on the rural economy. So what is that impact we have? Okay, we are talking about FDIs, various FDI sources, the models and all. but what is the impact they are showing on the supply chain aspect of the rural economy or the rural areas. Yes, FDIs can create a huge impact on the infrastructure projects, especially such as a cold store, a cold chain, or a warehouse, or the roads, especially in the rural areas. Because you know, most of the population, 60% above population, are still living in the rural areas. And development of certain parks, maybe a biotech park, as we discussed earlier, like smart cities, providing urban amenities in the rural areas, PURA scheme, which we discussed in the previous videos also, and cow park, or a sheep or goat park, buffalo park, horses, whatever the kind of parks that we can start. They are also having huge opportunities that will help to achieve the objective of National Rural Livelihood Mission projects, which we have discussed in previous videos. And one more area is development of e-commerce platforms, e-commerce models to cater to the rural supply chain needs. This will also enable the people to deliver products to the customer faster, and also the last mile delivery. Today we are talking about the last mile delivery until the last point, the end customer. So till that point we have to assess this by eliminating the middlemen, agents, or their kind of commission aspects and all. And development of some palm trees, coconut trees, papaya, almond trees, teak trees, olive trees, all these kind of chances also we have, which we have a huge impact on the rural supply chains. So this will basically help both the sectors, both the countries in the long run. And of course, this route, the best practices also in the industry. For example, the Walmart's everyday low price and technology, that is Amazon, can be these are the aspects which we can focus to gain competitiveness, because we are also talking about one important area called as competitive advantage earlier. So how we can gain competitive advantage through supply chain management. In that context also, by integrating or by lining up resources in such a way that will help the economy to grow, especially using some programs like this, this also enables the firm's competitiveness in a greater way. So definitely we have both positive and negative impacts, but at the same time we have to look at it the way how we have to utilize these resources in a right way, the way of connecting with the people, the way of building strategic relations with the long-term relations, and having a proper plan for a long range, and the stable economic policies. All such aspects clearly helps the investors, at the same time helps the beneficiaries in both the nations, and also in the long run this will also help the economy to boost up the operations and grow and provide more employment opportunities to the local unemployed youth as well. Thank you for watching this video. We'll discuss more in the next coming video. Thank you.